Jason Hernandez, General Manager of Toronto FC. Really appreciate you taking the time to speak with WakingTheRed TV for Canadian Soccer Daily. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. It's my pleasure. It's nice to be sitting together.
It feels like a lot has changed since you last spoke to the media at TFC Media Day last month. The MLS scheduling change. The biggest thing that happened in Major League Soccer since the David Beckham rule, in my opinion. Your take on it all and how it shook out, and if you thought that this vote would actually decide that.
Yeah, it's been what I would say a long time coming. Obviously, it's been multiple years of work on the league side and us on the club side, and just understanding the potential for this new world, this new landscape, what it could all mean. As we all know, when we make big decisions like this, some of the knock-on effects that we can see, and maybe trying to predict some of the ones that might be coming down the pipe. But really, I would say a landmark watershed moment for the league again, in a way whereby, for some of us who've been following the league since its inception, really one of, if not the most dynamic, evolving leagues in the world, right? In sports, really. And so it's certainly an exciting time. And it's certainly a new world for us.
You called it long overdue, but I do think a lot of people, even in the lead up to this decision, felt that maybe it was still far away or not a possibility because there's so many elements. It doesn't necessarily work for all 30 clubs. Do you think if this had happened when you were a player, A, would you have liked that? And B, do you think the league would be in a very different place now?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think as a player, right, there's almost like these two worlds you live in simultaneously. You're going, we all follow the sport globally, right? And so we understand kind of just the landscape and the foundational rules by which the game is played and everywhere else, right? And we also, I would say, embrace and love the fact that we've been unique for so long, right? And we do things just a little bit differently. And so I think there's a big part of when you're operating in MLS and you're operating in North America in general, accepting and acknowledging and welcoming who we are, right? We're a bit different. How we operate, we're a bit different in that we enjoy playoffs, and it's not just winning the league title with the best record. So all of those things that make North America unique and different, at the same time, still wanting for what I would say a little bit of the global game, right? And so I think making this type of shift as a player, you think to yourself, wow, we actually now are in the same world as the biggest players in the world, right? And the biggest teams in the world, aligning with the biggest tournaments in the same way. What could that mean for us individually and for the teams? I think that's a really exciting landscape to be a part of as a player. I think the flip side is true also, which I know players feel, staff feel, and supporters probably feel is a little bit of the unknown, is to say, well, how does that actually affect practically what we do, right? Toronto is certainly much different than Dallas. And so what does that mean for us? What does that mean for us in how we train and how we play? And how we can deliver, on match days and BMO Field. So all of those things, of course, with big change, you feel are the unknowns and gives people uncertainty. But, I think for us to make this monumental shift is a massive, massive deal. And I think, and certainly in the medium term and in the long term, I think it'll pay dividends, to which we're not yet sure how they're going to come and the extent that they'll come.
Mm-hmm. So much talk about the winter games, and there's been some very, very cold games at BMO Field, of course. But it does seem like, for 20 years in Dallas, they've been talking, in Houston, they've been talking about 7 a.m. training sessions. The flip side of that heat is incredible. How do you think Toronto FC can benefit from this change? And there is obviously some hesitation and some fear from the fan base of those cold winter games. Just how long will it take for it to all kind of digest here in the market?
Yeah, I think, big change certainly always comes with a hesitation, right, and apprehension. So I think that's normal, that's human. I think when you look at the practical reality of it, I think 90% of the matches are still played in the same months, right? We're adding, maybe one match in this month and another match in another month. So understanding those will present certain challenges. But I think for us, very much on the club side, our job and our mission, our focus really is to understand and try to predict what those challenges will be and how do we prepare to excel through those challenges, right? And so for us, in the same way that I can assure you, anytime we show up to Dallas or Houston, there are monitors everywhere reminding us what the heat is outside, right? And what the temperature is, because they understand that is an advantage that they have. And so to what ways can we now, and I think our friends certainly in Buffalo and the NFL team have really excelled in that, to understand we are Buffalo and you don't want to come play here, right? And so, for us to build not only an identity, but a mentality and a group on the pitch that welcomes those days, right? You know, I certainly remember the days that we're playing into late November and December and even February matches when we're talking about Champions League, and we're going, hell yeah, like we want to be playing games at BMO Field because we know we can have a real advantage and others don't want to come here and go toe-to-toe with us. And so can we build a team that welcomes that? Can we build a stadium certainly that from a fan experience perspective can accommodate, you know, thousands and thousands of folks to come and enjoy their experience and to push us on? So all of those are kind of that's the work being done. That's the work that has been prepared for, and certainly the work that's going to be executed in anticipation of the change.
Have you had many conversations with the Bills, and are there elements that you can take from that new era field experience in the NFL to make BMO Field something special and something different?
We do have a common stakeholder in place. I don't know if you know him, but yes, our friend Josie is certainly facilitating our relationship, and there's going to be, I would say, not only with folks near us, but even call it some of the other markets in MLS that envision having some challenges in some months from a weather perspective. So we're all going to be combining our efforts to understand what are going to be the best practices to get us what we need, which is, I think, you know, an experience that is unique to us, one that can give us an advantage, and one that I think, you know, can be a part of what it is to play for Toronto FC and to be a Toronto FC supporter.
Where were you? Did you watch the Canadian Premier League final? And what did you think of this?
I was actually traveling, so I was keeping tabs virtually, so I wasn't watching live, but it was something.
When you saw it, did you think, oh, we might have some nights like that at BMO?
Yeah, you know, I think the reality is, if you're playing deep in the playoffs or playing Champions League football in MLS, you've always had that potential, right? And so, you know, had we been able to go deep in the playoffs, like we would have been facing the same challenge, right? In the current format, regardless of, you know, flipping the calendar. So I think there's just some markets that are always going to be an element and a variable that you don't really have your finger on. So, and I think that's the fun part of our game in North America.